Hi, thanks for watching. Okay, so in this video, I would like to talk about the recent New York City assassination of the CEO of United Healthcare, Brian Thompson. Okay, this is a pretty shocking, really public assassination, really kind of amazing because, everything in New York, there's cameras everywhere. I mean, so this was done in a way where I think it was expected. I think the people who did this, I think they expected that the killing would show up on cameras. So to me, this is a pretty amazing crime, and I think it's being underestimated. Okay, I think it's being underestimated. I think people are a lot of experts on news programs. Just because of the unconventional way he was manipulating the weapon and maybe his body language and stuff. I think a lot of people are trying to claim that he's not a professional, that he's just some kind of amateur, and basically he made the mistake of showing his face, and it's just a matter of time before people recognize him, whatever. Now maybe that's true, but I have a hunch it's maybe not that simple. Okay, first of all, I don't think he's ever really shown his face. Okay, and I'll try to explain why. Okay, I'll try to explain why. It may look like he's shown his face. I'm not. I don't really believe that. And I think everything starts with the weapon. Okay, I think people were confused in the beginning with this weapon, right? Because I think in the beginning, in that famous sequence where you see him, kind of with this funny manipulation of the pistol, where he's sort of holding it and kind of has this weird kind of motion, and he kind of fusses with it and stuff. I think a lot of people had sort of a knee-jerk reaction that, hey, this is an amateur guy. He doesn't really know how to use a weapon. But I think it's because in the beginning, I don't think people realized he was using what is very well known to be an assassin's pistol. Okay, it's a pistol that's designed to be super quiet. Okay, and part of being quiet, it's not just a regular pistol with a silencer or suppressor. It's a special pistol that's designed to fire subsonic ammunition and to be super quiet. And part of being quiet is that you don't have the action sounds that you normally get with other semi-automatics. And this is not a semi-automatic. This is like a single bolt action, super specialized pistol. And I think a lot of people just didn't realize that's what he was using. Okay, I think they call it a B&T Station 6, and I think B&T also makes a veterinary version, but they're all based on an old spy pistol that goes back to World War II. Okay, so I think we made a mistake in the beginning because we were confusing his hand movements, and we were confused about the weapon, so we didn't really have the right category for this guy.
That's why we see that waddle as he's going away. Because you'll notice he walks almost normally at the top. He doesn't walk the gait of a military person or a police officer. But then he gets that waddle as he's paying attention to the gun because he's trying to keep his balance. He's not used to doing things like this. He's not a proficient gun handler.
Okay, I included this clip, okay, because Scott is also mentioning the gait and the sort of like the posture and the movement of this guy. And I think that's really important, okay, because I'm surprised, actually. I'm surprised because he's saying, oh, he doesn't walk like a military person, or he's that's it. That's very important because I think if only I think Scott was keyed into the type of weapon he was using, okay, he might not make that mistake, because I think categories are very important. All right. Basically, I think the problem maybe Scott's having is I think he's falling into the category we're all falling into, that we think if it's a professional hit, it has to be either the category of the mafia hitman or some kind of military killer, something like that. But I think there's another category. Okay, I think if maybe Scott had more information about the weapon that was being used and maybe an explanation for the hand movements, okay, if he realized that it was one of those Station 6 kind of like spy, and these are spy weapons, these are spy pistols. Okay, if you look at how fast the guy is manipulating this weapon that's not a semi-automatic, so he's manually ejecting and chambering these rounds at a very, very rapid rate. Okay, now compare that to other people using very similar weapons. Okay, and let's see how, even people who are experienced with guns, they don't have nearly the flow and the rapidity that this guy has. So I've looked at several videos of, people that have experience with guns, firing these veterinary or assassin pistols, these kind of like Station 6 or VP9 or whatever these things are called. Um, And compared to this actual killer, okay, it's almost like looking at somebody who's at home, playing poker, like shuffling the cards, compared to like a dealer in Las Vegas shuffling the cards. You know what I mean? You could It's like magic. It's like magic when you look at this actual killer, how he pulled off these shots. Okay, before he got to the jam, okay, and even that jam he dealt with very, very quickly. Before he got to the jam, he pulled off 3 shots. Very, very rapid. You know, very, very rapidly. You almost can't even perceive it. It's almost like watching a dealer in Las Vegas shuffle cards. So I think, I don't know a lot about guns, but I think, to be quite honest, I think maybe people are just, they have the wrong category in their mind. They're trying to imagine maybe some mafia guy, using a semi-automatic. I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking. Maybe I think mafia guys would use revolvers a lot, but the bottom line is I think the categories are wrong. Okay. And I think the category for this gun is not a mafia hitman. It's not a military commando. It's a spy. It's a spy. Okay. Now, I'm not saying this guy is a spy, but I think you have to see him through the category of a spy because that'll help us understand why he's walking so weird. Okay. And also why he's showing his face, apparently, but maybe he's not showing his face. Okay. So this picture right here is a so called money shot. Okay. And I think this is a very interesting picture. I mean, it's really a fascinating picture. But notice how there seems to be like really pronounced eyebrows and eyelashes. Okay, eyebrows and eyelashes. Now, the sad part about this is that this is not reliable because right where the hood is coming over, okay, the way the hood sort of casts a shadow, and then he may have also done something with the hood where it could give, for in knowing that cameras look from above, right? He probably is very aware of cameras, right? It may be designed the way he has the hoodie so that at the edge of the hoodie sort of gives shadow to give the impression of more eyebrows and more eyelashes than what he actually has. Okay. And then the other thing I noticed is that it almost seems like cartoonish, the exaggeration of the cheekbones and the chin. Okay. And you have to ask yourself, does he really have such exaggerated cheekbones and chin? Okay. Because if we think in the category of a spy, okay, if the weapon is a clue, then maybe this guy is really into spycraft, really, really into spycraft. Okay. Um, then it wouldn't be too much of a stretch that maybe he has like prosthetics to help him sort of enhance his cheekbones, nose, and chin. Okay, so when we look at other pictures, I think it does seem to me like there's a big doubt that maybe something about the nose and the chin makes me wonder if maybe he doesn't have prosthetics that are sort of changing the shape of the nose and chin. And so that leads me to think that maybe he's also using the hoodie at times to give the impression of different eyebrow and eyelash features. Okay. Because the way he puts the hoodie, it almost seems designed so that when the camera picks it up, it's going to sort of give an impression of more eyebrow and eyelash. And sure enough, when you look at this other picture here, okay, you have a different angle on the eyes. Okay. And I don't know about the eyebrows. I mean, maybe he has eyebrows, maybe he doesn't, or maybe he has very thick eyebrows, maybe he doesn't. But when you look at this picture, I think the suggestion at the very least is that he doesn't have nearly as much eyelash as what it seems to be in the money shot. Okay. And frankly, his eyebrows don't seem that much either. Okay. So it's a much different look when you look at him front. So my concern, okay, is that he's using maybe something special in the hoodie that's designed to really distort his features when seen from cameras looking at an angle from above. Okay, so he may be very camera conscious, and the hoodie may be designed to really kind of mess up the way you register his eyebrows and eyelashes, which is a very important part of his face. And then on top of that, he may be using prosthetics on his cheekbones, nose, and chin, maybe not all the time, but at different times to sort of fool the cameras and also to just kind of to kind of distract everybody from what his real appearance may be. So I would not be surprised if this guy, if you were to take off all the prosthetics and really really look at him and maybe change his hair or whatever. We don't even know what his hair looks like, but when he's not in costume, so to speak, and when he's not walking in a certain way, he may look like a completely different person. Okay, and that is part of spycraft. Okay, so that's something we need to take into consideration. He may not look really anything like either the way he's walking, nothing about his demeanor. And yes, you guys can check it out on the internet. You know, part of Spycraft is playing with your demeanor because that's part of concealing your identity. So this is just speculation, okay? But it is important sometimes. It is important to use creative and sort of informed speculation, okay, to get outside the box, okay? Let's get outside the box. Let's get away from the mafia hitman. Let's get away from the military commandos. Let's go into another direction, speculating, but hypothesis. Okay, my hypothesis is that this guy is very heavily trained and expert in spycraft. Okay, whether he was in the CIA or whether he's just privately just a fanatic about spycraft, but this guy is trained and very competent and probably selected for his high degree of spycraft. Okay, let's go there. Okay, the other thing that I'm concerned about. Okay, so that changes the picture, right? Because we're not looking for a mafia guy. We're not looking for some kind of military commando. This is spycraft. Okay, the other thing is that from the time he was in Starbucks and the way he coordinated himself to converge right when this guy was coming out of a building and going into another building, I think from one hotel to another hotel or whatever. Um, I think there had to be some coordination where either he had some kind of software where he actually could track the whereabouts of this CEO that he killed, or if maybe because he was seen talking on the phone, maybe he was on a burner phone. He was getting information from somebody else working with him. So we're talking about several people in coordination. Okay, and the other thing too, the way he just pulled out a pistol and shot this guy in the street. If there were any police anywhere nearby, okay, they would have shot him in the act, right? He's pulling a gun. They would have interfered and shot him. So he was taking a huge risk. So he had to have somebody looking out or helping him make sure there was no police on the street at that moment. Okay, so there was probably multiple communications, letting him know it was clear of police and that this guy was walking out and going in that direction. Okay, so that it could be coordinated. So, I mean, I'm sure this killer, I'm sure he knew for sure that Brian Thompson was going to be in that area because he was going to be attending the shareholders meeting. Okay, so he knew that. But the exact moment when he walked out and got it, that little segment where he was, walking a little short ways, on the outside on the sidewalk, he had to get somebody had to tip him off to the exact timing of it. Okay, so my speculation is that we're dealing with a coordinated team of people, okay, where you have informants and then you have the actual killer, the person, the assassin, whatever. And so that to me speaks of a very expensive project, okay, because if this guy is really, really good in spycraft, I'm sure you're talking about somebody who would be very expensive to hire, let alone a whole team of people. Okay, so we're talking about something that was financed at a very high level. Okay, so who are the people that could finance at such a high level? It would either have to be some government, okay, or it would have to be somebody super wealthy that could afford not only to pay the money for this, but to take the risk of this. Okay, and because it's such high risk, you could only hire the most professional, competent people. But the most professional, competent people, again, that's just going to be more expensive. So we're dealing with something that to me is either government or very, very high level wealthy somebody, that's financing something. Now, what would be the motive for this? Okay, that's the real question. Okay, in terms of motive, okay, I am reminded a little bit of the Unabomber. Okay, the Unabomber. Now, there's a difference because the Unabomber, he was very intelligent, very sophisticated, but he was also crazy, like psychotic, like schizophrenic. Okay. Whereas I think in this case, we're dealing with something kind of like the Unabomber, where I think there is some kind of ideological purpose here. Okay. Obviously, this is some kind of corporate terrorism. Okay. If my hypothesis is correct. If my hypothesis is correct, this is corporate terrorism. Okay. Similar to the Unabomber, and it probably has some ideological thrust. Okay. However, the difference is that it's not a single schizophrenic genius. Okay. This is more coordinated. Okay. And it's some government or some very wealthy financial group or person or whatever, some group or person very wealthy who's able to finance a terrorist operation with a specific purpose, which is to destabilize the private healthcare system in the United States, at least to start. Maybe we'll see something else in some other sector, okay? But at least for now, they seem to be targeting private healthcare. Okay, so that would seem to be kind of a left wing, kind of sort of a left wing agenda. Okay, and so then you just have to think, what government actors or what private people would want to finance some kind of terrorist operation, okay, to destabilize some sector of, let's say, private industry in the United States. I mean, that's a pretty serious question. So I don't know. I could be wrong, okay, but if this guy really is kind of the high level spycraft that it appears to be, we have to at least be open to the possibility that he was working in coordination, very sophisticated, very expensive, and that there has to be some government or some very wealthy person that's making this possible. You know, and I think that's pretty. Those are pretty serious questions in my opinion. I think this is pretty serious stuff because I think, I don't think we're quite willing. I don't think we're quite ready in the United States because I think we still have these categories where we're thinking, oh, mafia hitman, somebody maybe some private citizen just has a gripe because somebody got rejected coverage or whatever. And we're not thinking about the other possibility, which is something way more sophisticated, some very coordinated, high level coordinated program to actually inflict corporate terrorism in the United States. I mean, that would be pretty serious. And who knows? But whatever happened to me is very serious. Okay, and I think we are underestimating this person. That is my opinion. So anyway, just some ideas. I could be wrong. We're all speculating here, but just another angle to add to the hypotheses here. Anyway, so I really appreciate your patience, and thanks for watching.